How long have you been landlords?
I've been a landlord for 30 years, Your Honor.
Well, maybe you've been getting away with this kind of nonsense, but you're not going to get away with this kind of nonsense here.
Welcome to MsMojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 20 times Judge Judy owned people in court.
You are outrageous, madam. Why don't you get a job?
For this list, we'll be looking at various times in which the cold Judge Judy schooled people in her courtroom. Which of these moments did you find the most satisfying? Let us know in the comments. Number 20. Kicking out witnesses. If there's one thing Judge Judy seems to hate more than anything, it's when people interrupt the proceedings.
Please, it's okay with them.
I didn't ask you a question.
As she's proven time and time again, she isn't afraid to kick people out of her courtroom, even if they're witnesses. This case is like a disorderly high school catfight or something, with everyone talking over each other to make their voices heard.
Now out. Okay, now out. Just a second. Out.
After countless interruptions, Judy kicks out 3 different witnesses, 1 from the defendant's side and 2 from the plaintiff's.
She showed up at your door and said,
I opened the door, though.
Goodbye.
It's very satisfying to watch such entitled and disrespectful people getting their comeuppance. Judy takes no crap.
Put your hand down. Put your hand. Throw him out.
She let him.
Throw him out.
She let him drive it.
He goes out.
She let him drive it. She knew he was going to drive it.
He goes out.
I'm going out, but it's all wrong.
Good. He's going out. Nobody hears you except yourself.
Number 19. You are one stupid woman. Judge Judy's bluntness is what made her a cultural phenomenon. She popularized the concept of the cold, detached, and aggressive TV judge, and she has spawned many imitators. But none match up to Judy's scathing frankness.
They don't even leave around no other dogs. They don't be around no other dogs because I don't want them to get sick.
So stupid.
She isn't afraid to call someone stupid directly to their face, which is exactly what she does to this poor woman. During a dispute over puppies, the defendant begins to annoy Judy with her confrontational attitude.
Whatever.
Yo, one stupid woman.
Feeling fed up, Judy calls her one stupid woman and threatens to cut her microphone if she continues to deliver the sass. This type of behavior is exactly how people blow up their own chances in court.
They shut yours off if you're trying to talk over me.
Yes, ma'am.
So you can save your breath or not. It's up to you.
Number 18. The signed lease. As we watch more Judge Judy, it becomes increasingly obvious that people don't know how renting works. In this case, young Mr. Reiber signed a lease but never actually moved into the house. For him, that meant he didn't have to pay rent. The plaintiffs and Judge Judy vehemently disagreed.
He never moved into the
He signed the lease.
Reiber's father takes to the stand to defend his son, but Judy quickly puts him in his place. She tells him that signing a lease legally obligates one to pay the rent, even if they never end up moving into the house.
He did not live at that house, Your Honor.
It doesn't matter whether he moved in or not. Don't you understand? I mean, you're an adult.
The Reiber family doesn't seem to understand this, but Judge Judy does. Needless to say, this case was a quick and easy one.
This is your son's commitment. If he screwed up in college, that's not their fault.
Number 17. Out. As we've learned, Judge Judy doesn't take too kindly to interruptions. The defendant's witness and boyfriend interrupts the plaintiff's story, prompting a hilarious, "Who are you?" from Judge Judy. Once she said that, we had a pretty good idea that it wasn't going to end well.
But he was aware the whole time that it was her husband's.
Prior going to the
Who are you?
Her boyfriend?
Even the audience laughs at Judy's confused outburst. Following a mini argument between the defendants and the plaintiff, Judy simply kicks the witness out. She tells him to leave 3 separate times before yelling a firm "out," which finally prompts the man to stand and leave.
Go. I don't want to look at you anymore. Go. Out!
All it took was a firm voice raising. Then again, we wouldn't want to be yelled at by Judge Judy either. Number 16. A nonsense counterclaim. It's never a good sign when a judge dismisses your claim while they're actively getting up to leave. That type of body language just screams, "I don't respect any of this and I don't have time for it."
I suggest, sir, that you sue the people who took the car out of impound.
This case doesn't end well for the plaintiff, as Judy essentially tells him that he sued the wrong person. He takes it well, and Judy turns to leave.
I would sue them.
Yes.
You have an absolute right to do that.
Thank you.
Okay, we're done.
It's then that the defendant raises his papers in an attempt to inquire about his counterclaim. However, Judy firmly dismisses it while standing up and telling him that it's nonsense.
By the way, that's nonsense. Your counterclaim, it's dismissed.
So there. Number 15. I can tell you rehearsed this story. We wonder how many people come on Judge Judy thinking, I'm gonna be the person who finally outsmarts her. Yeah, it hasn't happened in 25 years, but hey, there's always a first time for everything, right? Just not this time.
She was partying.
I know you rehearsed this a lot in front of a mirror.
Yeah.
I know you did. I can tell. You rehearsed this story at least 2-3 hours in front of a mirror.
The defendant begins telling a story, but Judy sees straight through everything he does. She calls him out for rehearsing the story beforehand, and she continuously pokes holes in his tale.
2 minutes ago, you told me you didn't know anybody there, really. And then you just told me that you were the only one there who had to get up to go to work the next day.
Even his attempts to woo Judy don't work, as she directly shuts down his fake charming personality. Judge Judy is absolutely masterful at sussing out lies and discovering the truth, and watching her work is a thing of pure beauty. We feel bad for her children.
This is my program, not yours. Nobody cares. This is not an audition for you. Nobody's going to come and put you on America's Got Talent.
Number 14, catching a lie. People are typically bad liars at the best of times, never mind trying to fool someone with decades of law experience.
I may or may not believe you. Do you understand?
I understand.
Because that's a really hard story to make up.
Judge Judy will always work out a lie, and when she does, she will have even less respect for you than she did before. Judy interrogates Chris Pasquarella and asks him to repeat a story that he had previously written in his claim.
How did you get to Los Angeles with your fiancée and her 3 children?
I drove there.
In your car?
Yes. No, I drove in the rental.
He mentions his father-in-law, so Judy calls his bluff and asks his wife for his father-in-law's phone number so she can personally corroborate the story.
Get somebody to get your phone and we'll get the number.
Chris senses danger, immediately backs down, and admits that he was lying.
Let's get his phone number.
That's not necessarily true.
It proves immensely satisfying indeed. Number 13, security deposit. You have to be really careful with security deposits because you never know what might ultimately happen with them. In this case, Sharon was almost scammed by her landlords, Harold and Margot. Sharon gave them a $2,700 security deposit, but only got $1,500 in return, despite having the place professionally cleaned.
And you did not cash the check because it was not the full amount, and
Correct.
You believe that you left the house in pristine condition.
I did. I had it repainted. I had vacuumed, cleaned.
Judy is given an itemized list of all the so-called damage, all of which she dismisses as mostly nonsense.
I mean, because I'm looking at the list that you sent it to her, and it's mostly nonsense.
She's also given a few pictures, most of which show a pristine apartment. This case is over before it even begins, and it becomes obvious within the first minute who's going to win.
Some of the grout was coming out on the kitchen floor?
Yes, Your Honor, there was some damage
Fix
there.
it!
Number 12, the eBay scammer. This is one of the all-time greatest Judge Judy cases. The plaintiffs claim that they were scammed by the defendant.
I asked him for my money back, and he said, no, I've already spent the money on merchandise I wanted to get. And he laughed and told me to take him to court.
They paid her over $450 for 2 phones, only to receive photographs of the phones in question. Yep, sounds like a basic eBay scam to us. The only thing is, this woman decided to fight back and take it to court.
It states very clearly in the auction that this is for a photo only. I sent her the photo.
Show me where it says that.
Judy quickly goes over the story before calling the defendant an idiot and a scammer.
Are we understanding each other?
Yes.
You're an idiot and a scammer.
Best of all, she slaps the woman with the biggest fine possible, ordering her to pay the plaintiffs $5,000 in damages. That's a sweet $4,500 plus profit.
You have to find something else to do with your time constructively other than make children who are going to grow up with no moral compass like their mother. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. That's all.
Number 11, I know who you are. Judge Judy calls it a joy when people try to outsmart her. We think it's an even bigger joy for us. The defendant tries outsmarting Judy by giving her a bogus story regarding a car.
Do you have a photograph of the car? Because you have the car now. That's not an answer.
Luckily, Judy has absolutely no trouble in seeing right through it. She simply smiles through the nonsense like a shark about to pounce on a juicy meal.
Yeah, well, it was like a local mechanic like him who don't have shops.
She then unleashes on the defendant, telling her that she immediately pegged her as a liar and a trickster.
I know who you are. I established who you were before we even started this.
The defendant can only look at Judy with a smile that depicts both defeat and a certain amount of respect. She's upset that she was thoroughly outsmarted, but she still respects the fierce intelligence of her opponent.
Number 10. Case recall. Here's a tip for any future courtgoers. You probably shouldn't mouth off at the judge following their judgment.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you.
Get the dog. Excuse, you may step out.
What did he just say?
In this particular case, the defendant opens a huge can of worms when he vocally denies Judy's ruling. Judy then threatens to withhold his plane ticket home if he does not abide by her judgment.
We flew you in from Washington.
Okay, I get what you're saying.
Do you understand?
No, I understand, yes.
Do you know how expensive it's going to be for you to get home?
It's not often that we see the inner workings of Judge Judy, but this little glimpse proves fascinating. It also proves that Judy is a total beast, who takes absolutely no crap from anyone. And may we say, it is highly satisfying seeing the smug defendant being put in his place, knowing full well that he can't do anything about it.
You abide by my decision, or we do a zippity-doo-dah for you.
Not if he wants to go home anyway. Number 9. You are a moron. Judge Judy really doesn't mince words. Here, the defendant, one Kathleen Kreftmeyer, told her 6-year-old daughter that her father may not in fact be her real father.
And you did that because I don't believe in keeping secrets from my kids.
Yes.
You're a moron.
This causes Judy to call Kathleen a moron before going on a rant about how stupid that decision was.
You are an example of why people should have to take tests before they're allowed to have children.
It all ends with one of the best takedowns in Judge Judy history. You are one of the most marginal people that I've come across in a long time, and you haven't even said 2 words.
Fool.
We love a good roast, and this was a roast for the ages. Number 8. Breasts or college fund. This episode concerned defendant Sandy Nguyen, a woman who received some money for a breast augmentation surgery. According to Judy, Sandy has a young child, no job, and no future prospects of any kind. Yet she spent nearly $5,000 for bigger breasts.
You're asking a friend to co-sign a loan for you for $4,800. You have a young child. You have no future, no career, no nothing.
This really rubs Judy the wrong way, and she tells Sandy that it would have been smarter to put the money into a college fund than on her chest. It all ends with Judy telling Sandy to not have any more children, the implication being that she's too stupid to have more. So yeah, you could probably say that Judy knows the value of $1.
That some people say that being an only child is not a good thing. In your daughter's case, perfect.
Number 7. Interrogating a child. Even children aren't safe from Judy's ownage. Plaintiff Lisa White claims that a young child was throwing rocks in the street and that one of the rocks hit her car, causing some damage. Judy proceeds to bring up Dylan, the little kid who was throwing the rocks.
I was rolling them across the road and she was going like 70.
Dylan tells some blatant lies and even causes the audience to laugh, but Judy is not the one for humor.
I rolled it, it bounced up.
She proceeds to work the truth out of Dylan. Granted, it didn't exactly take much, before slapping his mother with a $300 repair bill. Judge Judy is scary enough.
One of the rocks hit her car.
Yes.
See how easy that was?
Yes.
Just imagine being interrogated by her when you were a kid. Number 6. My children are better looking than you. Judy can spot a lie from a mile away. In this case, plaintiff Dalton was telling a story that Judy thought was a load of baloney, causing her to yell at Dalton and accuse him of lying.
I don't believe a word of what you just said. Lie.
Once it was all over, Judy stated that he wasn't cute or good looking enough to get one over on her, causing Dalton to grin with delight. What makes the clip even funnier is the reaction of the woman in the background.
You may be able to get over on that with that sweet face, on them with that sweet face, but you don't get over on me.
She looks so utterly shocked and horrified that Judy took a shot at Dalton's looks, and it's just all too relatable.
My children are better looking than you, sir, and they didn't get over on me either.
Number 5. Take like out of the dictionary. We all know that the incessant use of the word like gets really annoying after a while, so it's no surprise that Judy went absolutely ballistic after hearing it one too many times.
When did you give the plaintiff checks from that bank account?
Like 3 months ago?
Like.
3 months ago.
I don't want to hear like. I want you to take like out of the dictionary.
For sure.
The plaintiff starts every answer with a long and protracted like, causing Judy to snap and to tell him to completely take the word out of his dictionary.
What are you asking me for? And you used the word like again.
I didn't. I said maybe.
She also grows so incensed at his continued use of the word that she denies him a drink of water, and he ends up confusing her with his prolonged and meandering storytelling.
Well, I don't usually use checks because I don't know how to write them. And
following this whole story?
So, you want me to continue?
Yeah, you're listening. Keep going.
Suffice to say, it was a little difficult getting this whole story worked out, what with all the rambling and likes. Number 4, rocket science. Defendant Ashley Hunter did something many of us have done. Pushed her friend into a pool. Only her friend was holding her iPhone at the time, and now she wants Ashley to pay for it.
I felt awful after it happened.
Well, you felt awful, that means you pay for it if you feel awful.
It's a very simple case. You could almost say that it's not rocket science. In fact, this is exactly what Judy tells Ashley. And just to turn the screw a little tighter, Judy asks Ashley if she knows what rocket science is.
This is not rocket science. What is rocket science?
Rocket science is when the scientists find out things about space.
This results in a brilliant and adorable answer that has Judy, Bird, the plaintiff, the audience, and even her own mother laughing. That alone probably hurt more than anything Judge Judy had to say. Number 3, do you honestly believe you have a case? Now, that is not something you want to hear in court. This surprisingly dark case concerns a 14-year-old boy who took his mother's car and went on a joyride with the defendant's daughter. However, they got into an accident and the defendant's daughter was killed in the crash.
I mean, do you honestly believe that you have a case?
The plaintiff, the 14-year-old boy's mother, wants the defendant to pay for both her son's medical bills and her car, as the daughter was driving her car at the time of the accident.
There is something very wrong with you.
Because the plaintiff gave the teenagers access to both the car and the keys, she was slapped with a $5,000 counterclaim, called an idiot, and had her son's physical appearance insulted by Judy.
He was able to come with you to court today and he doesn't look like he's missed a meal.
Number 2, stay in school.
You should never ever attempt to school Judge Judy because she will throw it right back in your face, and you will quickly find yourself on some top 20 list on the internet.
With how many different women do you have, these 10 children? I'll give you a second, just a second. I don't want you to make a mistake. I'll let you think about it for a second.
Judy learns that the defendant has 10 children with about 4 different women.
About 4 of them, including your daughter.
After learning this, he adds in a little snarky comment by stating that one of the women is Judy's daughter. She went surprisingly easy on him, but she still stated that he should have stayed in school instead of the bedroom, and even referenced his unfortunate children.
Might be your show, but this is my episode.
No.
Even easy Judge Judy is still scary Judge Judy.
Perhaps if you stayed in school a little longer instead of stayed out of the bedroom, you'd understand better.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1, bring in the dog. And here we have one of the best moments in Judge Judy history. The case sees the plaintiff suing the defendant over a stolen dog, and the defendant claiming that the dog never belonged to the plaintiff.
The question is this his dog? Your vet can't tell you how old the dog is.
Luckily, Judy has a surprise ace waiting in the wings, the dog himself.
Put the dog down.
Yes, that's him. That's baby boy.
Judy has the dog brought into the courtroom, and he immediately runs to the plaintiff in a burst of excitement. Judy simply nods her head before stating, "That's all," and walking out.
That's all. Take the dog home.
Now that's how you end a court case like a total boss. If only she had a microphone that she could have dropped. Do you agree with our picks? Check out this other recent clip from MsMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.